We're here at the Jerusalem conference, and this year's conference is not like other years' conferences. It's just much more packed, much more exciting, and it's like you guys got the handle of it, and this is the model. And one of the visionaries behind this conference and the chairperson of this conference is Bobby Rechnitz. Bobby, welcome to your conference.
Thank you very much. Welcome to everyone out there, to our listeners, to the overwhelming crowd that showed up today despite the snow this morning. We had about 550 people at opening session. We've had multiple sessions throughout the day. It's fantastic. And people tuning in all over the world, as I understand, watching it live.
Absolutely. It has been an exciting conference, and I've already met a lot of very good people. Tell me really, how come this conference is different than the other year's conferences? What happened? Is it the snow?
I wish it was that easy. I think the snow put a damper on it. Many people that I know from Ra'anana, from Tel Aviv, from Efrat didn't make it because of the snow. I think main thing that's different this year is we changed the venue in many ways. First of all, we changed the language to predominantly English, and it was my desire for years to bring in visiting American political and business leaders to take part in this, because as Jewish citizens around the world, we have a lot of influence as to what goes on in Israel, and I wanted them to see firsthand how they can impact and influence policy here, as well as learn from what goes on over here. And you notice that we had several retired generals from the Coast Guard, American generals, from the Marines, speaking on a variety of issues: Islamic fundamentalism, global terrorism, Iraq. Their message hits home when it comes to Israel. We had Senator Sam Brownback today, our headline speaker, one of the great leaders in the United States Senate, a true patriot, a good friend of Israel, came in just for our conference. His speech was overwhelming in terms of his support for Israel and his desire to keep Jerusalem united and not to cede 1 inch of it. I just wish that everyone in the Knesset felt that way.
You said something that I think is a very important point that I don't think I caught in the beginning, which is the idea of the conference is not only to convene and show the world ideas about the future of Israel, but it's actually to get people involved. And you're saying Jews in the diaspora, non-Jews, get involved in Israel. You have a say. If you care, you have a say. And this conference, switching over to mostly English, is there in order to give people a message like, look, just because you're living outside of the land of Israel, just because you're non-Jew, just because you don't think that, you've got a policy voice, yes, you do. We're giving you that opportunity. I didn't think of that.
Oh, but it goes way beyond that. This conference is not for American Jews. It's really not even for people like myself who live in the United States. This conference is for the 250,000 Anglo-Saxons who reside in Israel, and for the hundreds of thousands of others who send their children here to learn in yeshiva or to study in Israel, to go to university, many times to live here, to serve in the army. These people don't have a voice, and I'm not saying that they're united, but they don't have a voice. They all vote differently. They have a great deal of frustration, and they have a high frustration level at what goes on in policy and in politics over here. And this is a way for them to vent some of that frustration, to unify, to coalesce, to come together, and to actually get a message out of what it is they're looking for, what they expect from their politicians, and a message saying, this is what we want to do to go out and to reach forward. You saw the audience today and how they responded to Tzipi Livni. We were fortunate to have Foreign Minister Tzipi Livni. I feel honored that she chose to accept our invitation and come here. Normally she would not come to a conference of this nature because we were perhaps a little bit too far to the right or to the right of center. Normally we might not even be interested in hearing her. We were very interested. I thought her speech was outstanding. I'm not going to discuss whether I agree with what she said or the politics of it, but the fact that she chose to come here dignified this conference, and it shows that the right and the left need to bridge the gap, not just as a quote and not just as a saying, but the fact is we need to focus on what we have in common rather than what separates us, and I think that what she did today goes a long way in proving that.
Now, we're speaking with Bobby Rechnitz, the chairman of this conference. You're here in Israel because you love Israel. And I think one of the things that you're proud of is that not only do you talk about it and talk in America and talk in Israel and try to get people to remember their nationalism and inspire American Jews, inspire Israeli Jews, you're also taking action. And I always tell people, if you walk around Jerusalem, you see two things. You see cranes and pregnant women. And it's one and the same thing, because the city is being built. And your construction company is taking part in the building of Israel and the building of Jerusalem.
Yes, we are.
And I think that's quite exciting. I really do. To me, it's not any less than the Temple Institute people that I interviewed earlier, because it's the building of Jerusalem. It's really happening. And there's no clearer message to our enemies, no clearer messages to Jews who are assimilating out or forgetting about Israel, that Israel and Jerusalem are being built. What do you think about that?
Well, listen, there are many ways to support Israel, but fortunately, Israel has become a very good place to do business in the last few years. That wasn't always the case. And I'd always wanted to invest much more than just time and energy and love in Israel. I wanted to be able to find a way to make a return on an investment or even earn a living here, and eventually that might be the open the door to Aliyah. What I love about the particular project that my company invested in is that we're building housing just overlooking the old city, so it's a very historic location, and it's something that stirs the emotions and stirs the heart. It inspired me to invest in the property, and I'm sure it'll inspire many people to have homes there. And the side effect, the side benefit, of course, is that we'll be providing hundreds of jobs for several years, and the people that will be living there will be boosting the economy. So although there's a lot of criticism that many of the developers coming in and building ghost towns, they're not always ghost towns. There are people living there, they're spending money in the supermarket, they're paying their bills, they're using the taxi, they're helping build the economy here, create jobs, whether they're tourism jobs or service industry jobs. And owning an apartment in Israel is the first sector to making Aliyah, either for you or for the next generation. That's my own personal opinion and my own personal survey. So I believe that what we're doing as well is promoting people to get more familiar and feel more comfortable in Israel.
Bobby, you're building Jerusalem. I can't.
It's a zchut.
Yeah, it is a zchut. It's a bit, and that means merit. There's no, greater thing. We ask God to build Jerusalem, and then when He gives you the opportunity to also do it, wow, I think that's a huge thing.
Thank you.
I'm sorry that I'm waxing rhapsodic here. It's such a big deal.
I'm happy.
You're
as excited about my project as I am about the conference, so it's good.
Well, the conference is going really well, and Jerusalem is being built, and people are getting connected. So I want to thank you very much, Bobby Rechnitz, for chairing this conference.
Thank you.